So, to continue with our discussion of substance, again, that first sentence, substance, in the truest and primary and most definite sense of the word, is that which is neither predicable of a subject nor present in a subject. Now let's focus on that distinction, those things which are predicable of a subject and those things which are present in a subject. We get a clue to what Aristotle means by that by skipping to the fourth paragraph of our reading, which starts this way. Everything except primary substances, which again are the individual things that we talk about in the world, everything except primary substances is either predicable, capable of being predicated of a primary substance, or present in a primary substance. This becomes evident by reference to particular instances which occur. Animal is predicated of the species man, therefore of the individual man. For if there were no individual man of whom it could be predicated, it could not be predicated of the species man at all. Again, reinforcing that notion that the most important thing is that something exists that can be talked about, and that is the individual thing, whether it's an individual inanimate object, again like a cup, or an individual human being like me or you. Again, color is present in body, therefore in individual bodies. For if there were no individual body in which it was present, it could not be present in body at all. Thus, everything except primary substances is either predicated of primary substances or is present in them. And if these last did not exist, that is, if there weren't substances, individual things, it would be impossible for anything else to exist. So, some things are predicable of substances, some things are present in them. And he gives us an example there of something which is present in a subject by the color white. There we go. Here is the substance. This cup, this individual cup, this thing that I'm holding in my hand, according to Aristotle's definition, is a primary substance. Something can be predicated of it. Cup. Something is present in it, its color. So the predicate cup applies to this individual thing and is true of it and is one of its characteristics. Its color is another one of its characteristics, but is present in it. Whereas I think Aristotle would deny that cupness, in some sense, is present in it. That's something that's predicable of it and is a true predicate of it, but it's not present in it. Now he calls those other things that can be predicable of individual substances, some of those characteristics, as secondary substances. Let's go back to the first paragraph, the second line of the second sentence of the first paragraph. He says this, but in a secondary sense, those things are called substances within which, as species, the primary substances are included. Also those which, as genera, include the species. So here he's introducing this notion of secondary substances. If the individual things that we talk about in the world are primary substances, things that exist in the truest and most primary sense of the word substance, there are also secondary substances, things that Aristotle wants to call substances or beings, but which don't exist in that primary sense, exist but in a secondary sense. Well, what is this secondary sense, and why would he call them substances too? Well, the secondariness, I think, can be thought of in terms of dependency. There are primary things in the world that, in a way, bear qualities or support qualities, support characteristics. If there were not individual things that existed in the world, then there could be no red things. So redness depends upon an individual thing, in a way, for its existence. Redness can't just sort of exist. It has to have individual things of which it is a characteristic. So secondary substances, I think, are substances that can be thought of as being dependent substances, whereas the individual things that exist are independent of anything. They simply exist. And then other things, which are basically their characteristics, exist in a secondary sense. Now, not all characteristics, according to Aristotle, deserve the term to be called by the term substance. Only certain things do. And how do we judge which things are secondary substances and which things aren't substances at all? Well, he mentions two words there which we need to define: species and genera. My understanding of it is this, that I am an individual, I am a substance, I belong to a certain species, human being, or what he would call man. And that species belongs to a larger category, a genera, animal. So I am me, I am an individual substance. I am also a human being, that is, I belong to that particular species. And my species belongs to a larger group called animal, which includes, of course, all the non-human animals. Now, I am also American. I am a citizen of the United States of America, and that is another thing that's true of me. But what is it that really defines me, that makes me the kind of substance that I am? The closer we get to the individual substance, the more substantial, you might say, the secondary substance is. And those things can be thought of as being my essential qualities, those qualities which make me the particular kind of thing that I am. The closer we get to picking out the individual, the more substantial the quality. If we skip ahead to the third section, and again I will make sure that the annotations direct you to this, he says this: yet species and genus, that is, in the case of a substance like me, human being and animal, do not merely indicate quality like the term white. White indicates quality and nothing further. That is, a quality that I have, or a way in which I am qualified, like being American. But species and genus determine the quality with reference to a substance. They signify substance qualitatively differentiated. If I were not American, I'd still be the basic kind of creature that I am. I could be French or Canadian or French Canadian. That is, I would be different in important ways, sure. But if I were not an animal, or if I were not a human being, I would be an entirely different sort of substance. So the secondary substances, the things that Aristotle is calling as secondary substances, they are dependent on individual primary substances in the sense that they need those individual substances to have any being, because they are essentially characteristics of things rather than things themselves. But some of them are so closely bound up with those individual substances' unique identity as the kinds of things they are that he calls them secondary substances. That is, they are not mere qualities like being white or being blue or being American or being tall or being short. These are qualities that no doubt we have, but are they essential qualities? Well, an essential quality is what makes you the particular kind of thing you are. So in Aristotle's way of thinking, for an individual like you or me, our humanity, and then in a less important sense, our identity as animal creatures, is such a defining characteristic. So let's just try to put it in a nutshell. Primary substances are those individual things that populate the ordinary world around us. I am a primary substance. You are a primary substance. A plant is a primary substance. A cup, a box of Rice Krispies is a primary substance. Secondary substances are those dependent characteristics that are borne by, carried by individual substances. So secondary substances depend upon individual primary substances to exist. As he says,